Well, sticking around here with Representative Ralph Watts, talking about a variety of different things, and I take from your tone, Ralph, that the clean energy is maybe a misnomer. So you were in the electricity business for a long time. What's your position, I guess, maybe on energy in general?
Well, I reached my position based on my experience in the utility industry for over 31 years. I started in power plants and ended my career as a vice president of power production, and I'm very well aware of the technology advances that have taken place in the last 40 to 50 years in that industry. And right now, a modern power plant, coal-fired power plant, which is, by the way, the cheapest source of energy that you and I can get, just emits CO2 and water vapor. Now, when you say clean energy, I come at it from a standpoint that I don't think CO2 is an enemy. I don't look at it as pollution. It's not a poison, as we've been led to believe. Carbon is not our enemy. One of the things that the renewable folks propagate is that they can replace all of the fossil-fired plants and all of the other plants with renewables. It's impossible. Technically impossible to do that. You can have a large part of them, but you can't replace all of our power plants with renewables. Now, looking at the cost, let me ask you a
technical question here.
Go ahead.
Is there a difference between renewables and clean energy? And if there is, what's that difference? Because I don't understand it.
Well, that was my question earlier. What do you mean by clean energy? As far as I'm concerned, you can get clean energy out of modern coal-fired plant right now, and
because of all the filters you can stick on the stack and all.
Well, they put on catalytic reactors that have taken out a lot of the. We used to talk about mercury and all those things, and they've found ways to do that. The technology has advanced, so that the only thing coming out now is carbon, is CO2 and water vapor. The thing that irritates me is I see a picture in the paper once in a while, or I see a newscast when it's below 32 degrees, or when the water vapor coming out of the stack is showing water vapor, visible water vapor. They call that pollution. It's not pollution at all. It's just water vapor, just like that comes off of your water kettle on the stove. So when you say clean energy, most of the people think, well, wind energy and solar energy and those kinds of things. And my issue with those is every one of them are subsidized. They're subsidized very heavily.
Well, isn't the coal industry subsidized to a certain extent?
No.
Not at all?
Well, the coal industry gets the same kinds of deductions that any other industry gets. If you invest in capital, you're going to get a depreciation deduction. You get a certain amount of things that are written off every year, and that's available to any business.
Okay.
They don't get any special subsidies because of the coal industry. Back to the power plant issue. Now, I don't have access to the exact numbers, but I can estimate them pretty close because those kinds of things are confidential now in the industry. But I've estimated that a kilowatt hour out of a modern power plant in Iowa is going to cost you about 1.5 cents to 1.75 cents per kilowatt hour. The subsidy for wind energy is 2.5 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour. So the subsidy is worth more than twice what the kilowatt hour would cost you if you just generated it. Now, on top of that 1.5 cents, you've got transmission costs, distribution costs, administrative costs, and all the other things that go along with operating a utility. But the only thing that a wind turbine or a solar panel does is replace fuel at the power plant. It doesn't replace the power plant, doesn't replace the people that are required to be there when that plant is shut down, when the wind plant comes up to its capacity. So the only thing you can measure it against is fuel at the power plant. Now, we have a fleet of plants in Iowa, and I'm talking about just the Iowa community now, that are approaching 40 years old. And nobody's talking about, well, how are we going to replace those? What are we going to replace them with? Normally, you would look at 50-year life, 55, maybe 60.
So they're coming up on it now.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, what would you think about, because I know in Urbandale, of all places, I was trying to get a solar mat so I could heat my pool more efficiently.
Yeah.
And that's forbidden. And then I thought, well, screw it. I'll just get a wind turbine. That's forbidden. What do you think about people having their own personal energy devices, sort of kind of being off the grid? What do you think about that?
Sure. Absolutely. If you want to do that, you want to pay the cost, more power to you. Break a leg. Go ahead and do it. Don't send me the bill. And that's my issue with the large wind energy installations.
Well, but I know in Iowa, in certain areas, you're not allowed to do your own thing, be off the grid. And I know that there are cities such as Urbandale that have the same thing. If you, for me, it's not if you get reelected, but during the next session, are you going to do anything to allow homeowners to make it easier to put solar on the rooftops and wind energy in the backyards?
Yeah.
Or is that going to be anything that's going to be on your list?
The issue there is if you want to put solar on your home and you want it to run some isolated part of your load in your home, more power to you. The issue with it is that they don't want to stop there. They want to connect to the grid, and they can do that, and sell any excess power back to the utility company. It's called net metering.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. You're familiar with net metering.
Yep.
The issue with net metering is it's the same process. They want complete retail value of their energy. And I look at it the same way as when I take my wife's fudge, and my wife makes good fudge. If I take my fudge down to Shields at their fudge factory and insist that they buy my fudge from me at the same rate that they're selling it off the shelf, what do you think's going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
And that's the problem with net metering. It's no more complex than that.
All right. So one last issue that I want to talk about, because I think we're going to spend the last segment on the penny tax debate.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I am a big fan of cellulosic technology. Okay. I'm a child of the 80s when you drop a banana in the hopper and suddenly you get nuclear power in your car. I would love to have that. What do you think of cellulosic technology, and how practical do you think it is?
Oh, well, that's one of those issues that's been bouncing around out there for the last 14 years that I've been in the legislature. We've talked about the hope of cellulosic technology. I hope it comes to fruition. I feel that a lot of the answers that we will have in the future will come from technology. It won't come from legislation. It won't come from us. It'll be from technological improvements in the industries. And quite frankly, cellulosic is one of those.
All right. So we're up against another break. We're going to be back to talk about the penny taxes. Taxes are exciting, especially when they're jamming a hole in your wallet. I want to thank Ralph Watts for joining us today. He is the Republican representative from District 19. We'll be back